Charting stocks, technical analysis sounds super complicated and can totally be complicated when you start adding tons of indicators, tons of trend lines, tons of boxes, all these different things to your charts. But in today's video, we're going to keep it to around 10 minutes and give you exactly what you need to chart stocks completely from scratch. This video should be a great reference to set the foundation. If you are someone who is brand new looking at a new stock, or you're someone who is brand new looking at charts like candlestick charts, the next 10 minutes will be exactly what you need. Okay, right now we are looking at SPY, the S&P 500 ETF. Many people can just buy and hold this as a long-term investor, but in this video, we're talking about charting stocks. And so why might you actually want to chart stocks if you're someone who's not actively trading every single day? Well, maybe you want to look at areas that could be good buys in the future if we go lower, and could be good areas to sell or to trim profits if we go higher, whether you're looking at individual companies or if you're looking at, for example, the S&P 500, or you're looking at the overall markets in general. This is what you want to pay attention to. Let's set the foundation straight. So right now we are looking at a big picture chart here on TradingView. You can use any platform you want. Don't feel bad if you're using Robinhood. Don't feel bad if you're using Webull. Don't feel bad if you're using anything else, okay? As long as you can get a chart that looks like this, and ideally you want to be able to draw on your charts, add indicators, and add lines, which I believe on Robinhood you can't do. So maybe you should feel bad if you're on Robinhood and you're trying to chart stocks, but this is going to be a way to get a good feel for things. And then ideally a platform like a TradingView or a Webull or whatever you use that you can add your own lines, add your own stuff to is key. So on our chart right here, what we're looking to do is we're going to identify key reversal zones. We're going to identify trends, and we're going to identify the big picture of this stock. You're going to get a really good feel for the overall trend or direction across any time frame. You're also going to get a good feel for key areas to watch going forward in the future, okay? And when we say that, it's really important because we get to these so-called inflection points and we tend to see some pretty big moves, whether that's a bounce back to the upside if we're coming down, or a reversal and a rejection off a level of resistance if we're coming up, right? So this is why it's important. And if you're a swing trader or a trader, or you want to be, this could be stuff that could help you back your way into trades and give yourself a leg up on the overall market. So first things first, let's talk indicators. Right now we have a blank slate. We are using the hollow candlestick chart. I believe there are some videos here on this channel. If not, a great reference channel will be the TC Trading channel. We'll leave that linked up in the description box down below. Why? Because we try to do tutorial videos pretty much every single week over on that channel. So there's already a massive backlog of how-tos and all these types of videos if you have questions, want to go deeper into other aspects of this type of stuff. So we have hollow candles, and then of course on top of that we are using the 1-day chart indicated by the 1D that does not stand for one direction. And now what we're doing is we're looking at the past, we go back here, the past year, a little bit over a year on this chart. Let's talk indicators. So my drop-down menu, a couple things that I like to use myself. That would be the volume. Okay, let's put the volume up. That's the bottom of our screen right there so we can see, okay, how much volume is coming in on a given day or a given candlestick. Then I'll use the visible range volume profile over here on the right-hand side. I'll use moving average indicators sometimes. And then from there, there's a lot more that I have that we can use in the future. But this isn't so important, right? At the end of the day, you don't even need these things. We can get rid of all these indicators just like a price action. That is all you need to chart stocks. Don't get it confused because you're going to go and see everyone talking about 9 EMAs, VWAPs, and all these different things that they can be useful and you can determine that over time, but the foundation needs to be set. So, big picture, let's talk about relative highs. We're looking at these relative highs. These are areas that we might want to note. And what I'm going to do for these relative highs is I'm going to mark with a horizontal line at each of those highs, okay? Drop a horizontal line across the top or across our screen at each of those relative highs. And I'm going to do the exact same thing at some of these relative lows. So let me actually zoom this guy out a little bit better so you guys can kind of see what I mean. I'm going to draw this in at some of these relative lows. Now what I have is I have some inflection points. I have some key points on our chart that we've had some pretty big reactions and reversals over the past year, year and a half at these levels. And you notice that some of these levels actually line up right with relative highs and relative lows. Here's a relative high that also lines up with the relative low. Why? Because prior support becomes resistance and vice versa, okay? That's kind of a big picture concept when it comes to the stock market. So now that we have a couple levels, and of course, this is, on the big picture, you can do this on any time frame. Does not matter, any time frame. But we're looking for those swing highs, swing lows. Those are notable points, inflection points on our charts. Now, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to see if I can determine a trend line, okay? I want to see, can I determine an uptrend, a downtrend? And what we noticed over this past year is that, we got price action pretty much headed to the downside, right, over this past year. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw in a nice trend line if I can, and I'm going to try to connect 3 tops on this downtrend. And an uptrend, I look to connect 3 bottoms. And so we'll see if we can do both of those things here. So we have the relative high. Let's start from that relative high, see if we can get 3 touches to this trend line. And just like that, that's exactly what we got. Now we've got a nice relative trend line. Now, before we take it a step further, talk about uptrends, and then last but not least, supply and demand, I do want to thank today's video sponsor, Chart Prime. Chart Prime is an awesome trading suite, algorithm, and community all baked into one. With Chart Prime, you get access to some incredible trading tools like automatic pattern detection, unique indicators, trading signals, and even a Discord community centered around trading education and building profitable traders. And don't just take my word for it. Here is a look into some of the recent member profit posts, and you can see that members are banking off of Chart Prime, whether that's the automatic patterns to build their trading plans, indicators, or even some of their awesome signals and analysts who post trade ideas. Their indicators integrate right into TradingView, which makes it super easy to analyze your favorite charts, whether it's stocks, crypto, really you name it. Although many of the trading signals and the analysts in the Discord do focus on crypto trades, there's a ton to work with here. And I'd say that my favorite has to be the automatic pattern detection, whether it's indicating different technical patterns on the charts or that's candlestick patterns. It really helps eliminate a lot of the time that it would take to do your own technical analysis. And you can have essentially a bot, a system, an algorithm do it all for you. I will leave a link in the video description box down below if you want to check out Chart Prime, sign up, and get in on this action right now. They've got countless tutorials, webinars, and even live trainings that they run all the time that are meant to help you and cut down on that learning curve, giving you the best chance of success. Seeing all this and the community firsthand gives me a lot of confidence that they have your best interests in mind, and they want you to be able to capitalize in all aspects of trading, long, short, it doesn't matter. Again, I'll leave those links in the video description box down below and get started right now. All right, so let's see if we can do the exact same thing with an uptrend line. Now, this recent price action, let's see if we can do the exact same thing here. Let's start from some of these lows and let's bring this up to the top. Boom, look at that. We now have an uptrend, which actually is potentially going to break down as we speak, as I'm filming this video right now or very shortly after. But what I'm more so getting at here is that we need to determine relative trends. And determining relative trends does not need to be complicated. We don't have to look at a million indicators. We just need to be able to connect roughly 3 or more lows or highs. And if we can do that, we have a valid trend, okay? Now, in this case, this is our valid uptrend, which could break. And of course, when we have a break in trend, for example, a break of this downtrend, or a breakdown of this uptrend, that's where we can get some pretty substantial moves. And that's why charting is important, because you might look and say, why is the stock market up so much today? Or why is it down so much? Most people, especially CNBC, they'll tell you, oh, this is why, this news, that news. But in reality, there's also a technical factor, and a technical breakdown or breakout can supply extra juice to some of these moves. Okay, so what about supply and demand? Now, supply and demand is where we're going to try to draw in zones, not just one lines. We're going to try to draw in zones, and we're going to try to catch a bunch of candles in our zones, whether it's lows or highs, okay? So not the full candles. We're trying to see if we can connect a bunch of lows and a bunch of highs inside of a box, right? And what I'm going to do is go back to this time frame right in here. And what you'll notice is that we have a pretty key inflection point, and that's what I'm highlighting by this zone. So this zone was a zone that was a prior supply zone, which is essentially a resistance zone. Then it acted as a demand zone right here, also acted as a demand zone right there, support zone. Then it, guess what? Acted as a supply zone right here, and now it's acting as demand as we're holding above. That right there is supply and demand in a nutshell. Can we connect a bunch of tops and a bunch of bottoms, extend it out to the right-hand side of our chart, and is that an area that we still see reactions? Support turn resistance, resistance turn support. that supply and demand. If you want to take it a step further when it comes to supply and demand, we recently just posted a video covering supply and demand. I'll put a card up in the top of the screen, and I'll also leave that linked up in the video description box down below if you want to dive deeper into supply and demand to help improve your charting, trading, and even investing. Now that we have this all charted out, what we have is a bunch of reference points, a bunch of potential price targets, and a bunch of inflection points to watch going forward. So as price action develops, if we push even higher, we're going to be watching for some of these recent swing highs, some of these recent lines that we have charted out as resistance levels as we push higher. And if we push lower and break this trend to the downside, we're going to be watching for some of those recent swing lows as areas of support for a potential bounce in the future. Hope that charting video helps. Again, our channel sponsor is Chart Prime. If you guys want to check them out and dive deeper into that, that will be linked up down below as well in the video description box. Thanks so much for watching. Plenty more of that came from on the channel if you guys want to check out some playlists and some other past videos. Hope to see you in a future video. Thumbs up button, subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.